All right. I need you to hear me out. All right. I need anybody who sees this video to be as open minded and non judgmental as possible, even if you are not a Christian or a spiritual person. Please. This could save the world. If I'm right. I'm just asking somebody to listen and put these clues together. Lord, speak through me. I will put this together. My name is Brandon Cutter. I'm 28 years old. I was born August 30th, 1994. Growing up, dude, my number one thing in school was science and language arts. Grew up one of the most talented kids anybody had ever seen. Not to be cocky, because I was cocky as hell and arrogant. Okay. Um, I had a very, very, very high IQ. You could teach me the basics of something, and I would learn and excel at myself. You know what I'm saying? To the to the professional level. Um, I could go to sleep in class, watch the first 5 minutes, go to sleep, ace the test. Anyways, hell of a musician, singer. Like, man, my dream was always to be a rock star. But another one of my dreams was always to go to space. Man, I wanted to be a Jedi. Star Wars and The Matrix were my two movies, man. Two movies. Growing up, I used to be a Jedi. Man, I was called to be a preacher. My grandfather was a preacher. Um, Growing up, my mom worked for Lockheed Martin, LabCorp, companies like that. My dad is a very high-ranking Freemason. Didn't know him until I was 14 years old. One day when let me go back. I was about 14 years old and I was prophesied over by a very known prophet, Prophet Hardy. He said, "Son, I felt the anointing of God on here in here, like I never felt before, and I didn't know who it was coming from. It was you." And told me my whole life story. Right, everywhere I've ever gone, been with a woman named Lindsay Goodson for 10 years, and she has seen it firsthand. Everywhere I've ever gone, spiritual, but Christian, they've always wanted me to train up to be a pastor, train up to be a pastor, train up people in my life, just randomly. I mean, things have all pointed towards Brandon, you're called. Brandon, you're called. Brandon, you're called. I've done my own studies on the Bible, many religions, okay? But I'm also a man of tremendous science, dude. Astrophysics, particle physics, physics, anything. And I've never taken any course. Psychology, also. I'm sorry. I was a narcissist. I was just healed of narcissists myself. Well, God did. Man, tremendous work. And I woke up one day. I'm not even BSing you guys. I used to talk really ghetto slang. I'll show you guys some videos if you want to. I woke up talking like this, intelligent as hell. I mean, I've always been intelligent, just my proper English. Uh, I'm ADHD as hell. Okay, I've been stimulating. I've been a drug addict for the past 15 years. Okay, stimulants, methamphetamine came into my life a couple years ago, and that was it, man. That was it. I didn't fiend for it though, but it was the stimulant. I was just immature and never got. I'm saying never got a prescription for Adderall, and we all knew that I needed it. Well, I've been doing that for about a month, and I'm starting to level out. Uh, Something happened to me and my baby mother when our daughter was born. I got an email from my father saying, "Come down, don't make the same mistake." Blah blah blah. I was junked out, shooting up methamphetamine in a trap house, and my baby mother went down to Florida with my mother. She got the same emails from him and my grandmother, who I'd never met, saying that they'd always been watching me. Blah 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 blah. There was a time that I was living here in Snow Camp, North Carolina, and I got a letter from an Amish community with Mary on it saying that if you don't stop stealing, God's watching you. You're going to get what you deserve, blah. And then I go back to prison. Okay? Lindsay, present for all of this. Okay, I go down to Florida. I'm introduced to a man who's named David Jeremiah. Okay? I'm introduced to a man whose name is David Jeremiah. He is a Christian and has his own house and a Christian camp for kids called Family Odyssey Camp. But he wants to start training his own congregation of men with families. But men, and iron sharpens iron type deal, and he starts telling me about the old preaching ways of Jesus and his genius. I fall right in love with it. I understand completely where he's going with this. Me and my mother get into an argument. I'm asked to leave. Move in with him. Things are said about our next door from our next door neighbor. We confront him, move out, and he introduced me to a man named Dias Abraham there, an Indian guy from the West. Um, he says that he is one of the greatest. He was one of the greatest computer programmers and physicians over there, and that he had come over here and that he had a contract, military contract with the NSA through to help CERN stop Y2K, the fall of the internet. CERN, by the way, is the, if you haven't heard of them, they have the Hadron Collider over there in Geneva, Switzerland. CERN also back in the 1980s or 70s, one of the two, they created the internet for laboratory to laboratory communication. Okay, CERN is the biggest particle physics lab in the world. They have the biggest Hadron HLC, hard or LHC, Large Hadron Collider. I'm sorry. What it does is it's lasers. It's this huge circle, 17 miles around, electromagnetic, blah blah blah. Dumb it down. Particles are accelerated, smashed together, and they create the Big Bang. What they're really doing over there is they are trying to open up portals. If you open their website and do your own research, man, they're the number one conspiracy theorists around the world. Okay, that company came into my life back in 2018. Okay, I was in Tennessee, and a woman named Gina Lettner. Right after I had gone out and taken a box of Triple C's, drank a little bit, and my heart stopped. I had a vision that night. I threw up all over myself. I passed out. I was in between my I was in between my flying in between my brain and my skull. Okay? And it was just me like this, and buildings were just popping up out of my brain. Right? Then I come to, and they tell me my heart has stopped, blah, blah, blah. Everybody's looking around. Like, later on that night, Brandon and Gina are in the kitchen just looking at each other like crazy. Okay? Later that night, she tells me about a company named CERN. I do my own research, and that's when they started the Hadron Collider. Let's go back. Dias Abraham helped stop that. He lived in a huge house down in Lakeland, Florida, or Bartow, Florida, with I think three women, 4 or 5 little girls between each of them, and one little boy who is so genius with electronics. Okay, each one of these kids are gifted in their own little way, and you can tell. And I have been Werner von Braun type deal. You know what I'm saying? Anyways, I met him, and we were at the Carol Bennett Jenkins Women and Children Pavilion down in Lakeland, Florida, the NICU. Our daughter was born September 23rd, 2021. She was supposed to be in November. She was born 2 months early and was born 3 pounds even. The man Dias had a good connection in the name, or in the he's a pastor, Christian pastor. He had a good network in the community, especially with the hospital. He was telling us things about our child after she was born that later on we would get back and the nurses tell us, saying we find out. So weird stuff around the hospital started happening. My baby mother was taking labetalol, which was not FDA approved at the time, and she, I know for a fact, went into cardiac arrest. There was a placental rupture, and it's covered up. I did my own research. I was showed things. Somebody hacked my email and were giving me encrypted messages, and they were giving me research, underground research, about neurological connection between a mother and baby after cardiac arrest at birth, right? And somebody's been showing me a lot of clairvoyancy. See, uncovered CIA clairvoyancy studies and trials. There was a man there named George, and his daughter. He was a pastor too. His daughter worked for the CIA. Okay. Dias kept telling me he said that he was a psychological reprogrammer. He creates habits in men. Okay, and I was very lost at the time, desperate, and I knew something was wrong with him. But at the same time, the two people in my life that I've ever been able to feel electric off of when I tune in. And it's him and a man named Randy Bates, who I've also been, talking to here lately. I recently came into. I'm a very, very, very spiritual person. Okay, when I was in prison, my life was saved through meditation. Okay, and then I tried to intertwine that with Christianity. Something in my heart just told me that something was wrong with the Bible, the exoteric version of the Bible, the old translation I saw through all the BS. Aliens, Anunnaki. Then when I was in prison, I found that book, Ancient Sumerians. I did my own research. And then I'm going to tell you right now, Lindsay will tell you, something happened to me after my third eye was open, after I died. I started to feel things and understand things in the world, in the universe. Physics became just one of my passions. Spirituality did too. I knew I was called, but I never understood. So then I started to understand and started to see the contradictions in the Bible, and I started to put my things together. And I started to say things to Lindsay that something in my heart was telling me. And later on over the years, things would come about that I was talking about, and I would look at Lindsay. And then here recently, my pastor has been, or not my pastor, my grandmother's pastor, Randy Bates, has been including esoteric knowledge about who we are, who God is, what God is, and who we are, and our abilities through Him. The real teachings of Jesus. I and the Father are one. Nobody can come to the Father but through me. Knowing that your soul, your true self, is your solar plexus chakra, and I've been focusing on that so much, and I'm enlightened. I've done so much research on esoteric knowledge, on particle physics, on CERN, something, and I just understand the way the parallel dimensions work. I understand all of it. I could hold the most intelligent conversations with any physician, any rocket scientist, any particle physicist, and I'm not being egotistical because I used to. I went to rehab at 27 years old at a place called Living Free, and they humbled me. And Dias, Abraham, I caught on to something. We knew that something was wrong, me and Lindsay. Okay, with the hospital, with him, everything. We were being followed. I became obsessive with it to the point to where Lindsay wanted me to Baker Act myself. I did. And then after I got out of there, within an hour, told them that I had a whole conspiracy theory built up against them, and somebody else really wanted help to see if I was. No, they let me out. An hour later. They gave me a piece of paper. I got on the piece of paper, typed in lrmc.org, which is Lakeland Regional Medical Center. No, it did not take me to that website. It took me to L.R. Hubbard, something, I can't even remember, but it was the inventor of Scientology and the number one humanitarian in his day, right? Huh. So, why that? Then, whoever hacked my email, they were sending me, Lord Geller was their cover-up